Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we are running through 10 players that need to be upgraded this summer. Let's get into it. 10. Nathan Ake. We aren't for 1 second arguing that Nathan Ake has had a poor season. The 28-year-old has more than doubled his minutes, started 6 matches on their route to the Champions League final, and added some much-needed physicality to their defence. But persisting with Ake and Akanji as their first-choice left-backs would be a massive mistake, and so in that position they need an upgrade. Whilst both are solid enough in possession, neither are particularly comfortable driving forwards, completing 25 and 24 progressive carries between them this season, fewer than Laporte, who has played less than half the minutes of both of them. With Rafael Guerreiro linked with a move to Bayern Munich, we believe that City should make an inquiry for Alphonso Davies, whose agent said to Bild last week, there seems to be too much instability and uncertainty around Bayern right now. Given that move is both highly unlikely and would be very expensive, a player they could look at is Celta Vigo's Javi Galán, one of Europe's best dribblers. With Walker 33 and Cancelo unlikely to be reintegrated, keep an eye on City's fullbacks this summer. 9. Ivan Toney. In a similar vein to Nathan Ake, Ivan Toney had a magnificent season. His 20 goals in 33 games, joint 9th in Europe and one more than Mo Salah, was the key component behind Brentford's 9th place finish, the best in their 133-year history. But as everyone is well aware, after being found guilty of 232 of the 262 betting charges that were made against him, Toney won't be eligible to play for any side, including Brentford, until mid-January. Johan Visser and Brian Mbeumo did an admirable job replacing him in the final few games, and they'll surely push to sign Kevin Schade permanently following his promising loan from Freiburg. But a top-level number 9 wouldn't go amiss. Our shout is none other than Arsenal youngster Folarin Balogun, whose 20 league goals for Reims this season have made him one of the most desirable young forwards in Europe. With Milan and Inter Milan both reportedly interested, Balogun might have better options, but the promise of at least 6 months of first-team action in London could turn his head. A last-line attacker with negligible defensive output, he's a very different profile to Toney, but that might entice Frank, who rarely misses in the transfer market. 8. Eric Dier. Our first entrant who has struggled to hit his best level this season, Eric Dier may be battling a groin injury this campaign, but if Spurs are serious about returning to European football next season, they need to address their defensive shortcomings. With the futures of Sanchez and Longley uncertain and rumours swirling that they might consider selling Davies, there is a very good chance that Dier retains his spot next season. But based off his performances this campaign, his future shouldn't be in doubt. He played the most minutes out of any Lily Whites defender as they conceded 63 goals, the 6th worst tally in the division, and only 5 fewer than relegated Leicester. He now ranks in the bottom 50% of centre-backs for tackles, interceptions, blocks and clearances, while 6 players can top his 86% pass success rate, worrying given he's supposed to be the tone setter at the centre of their defence. His replacement depends on which system their new manager implements, but we suggest they have a look at Rennes' Arthur Thiat. The 23-year-old Belgian is an excellent ball progressor and is crucially left-footed, meaning he could feasibly replace Longley too. 2 birds with 1 stone. 7. Dan Burn. Massive props to Dan Burn. When Newcastle agreed to sign him in January 2022 for a £13 million fee, rival fans were quick to make fun of the deal. The Magpies had become the world's richest club just 3 months earlier, and signing a player that had become something of a bit part at Brighton wasn't seen as particularly exciting. But it's proven to be a masterstroke. Whether playing at centre-back or left-back, local lad Burn has shone, with his leadership and sense of fun making him a key member of Eddie Howe's dressing room. However, if Newcastle want to become a Premier League and Champions League challenging club in the next few years, an upgrade at left-back is needed. Whilst he ranks in the top 2% of fullbacks for clearances and aerials won, he offers next to nothing going forward, with his shot-creating actions, progressive carries and successful take-ons ranking in the bottom 15% in his position. At his best, Arsenal's Kieran Tierney is a rampaging, committed, energetic force at left-back. If they can sign him for around £30 million, that seems like a no-brainer. 6. Odsonne Édouard. It's worth remembering where Odsonne Édouard was at with his career when he signed for Crystal Palace for £14 million in August 2021. He'd successfully established himself at Celtic after failing to make the grade at PSG, with his 88 goals in 179 games helping the Hoops to a triple-treble of domestic honours. But as he said at his Palace unveiling, scoring goals in the Premier League may be the biggest challenge of my career. And so it has proved. Despite featuring in 63 games across his first 2 seasons in South London, he has scored just 11 league goals, meaning although he is yet to miss a game with injury, he's still far from first choice. At 25 and with 2 years left on his contract, he still retains a fair amount of value, and given his XG per 90 of 0.21 is less than what Ericsson is managing in midfield for United, and only narrowly more than Podence is producing in a blunt Wolves side, it could be a good time to offload. Linked with a shock move for Italian striking sensation Mario Retegui, who has scored 29 goals in his last 51 games for Tigres on loan from Boca Juniors, we are intrigued to see whether they pull the trigger on this one. 5. Ashley Young. For Ashley Young to still be playing Premier League football nearly 20 years after his Watford debut is a feat worth applauding. His 422 league appearances, a figure topped only by Milner and Henderson amongst active players, is even more remarkable when you factor in that he spent 18 months playing in Serie A with Inter Milan, where he won the second league title of his career. This season saw him rival and at times displace Matty Cash as Aston Villa's first-choice right-back, and although he didn't let his side down, he didn't excel at anything either, ranking 5th for tackles per 90, 7th for interceptions, whilst he created a chance every 146 minutes, more than 2 times Alex Moreno's average on the opposite flank. Having already confirmed Young is leaving the club this summer, Villa will be in the market for an upgrade. Given the calibre of their other targets, we expect Emery to go for it. Tino Livramento or Kyle Walker-Peters of Southampton would both be worth exploring. 4. Rob Holding. After 162 appearances for Arsenal, Rob Holding can be rightly proud of all he's achieved, and at 27 years old, he still has years left as a Premier League footballer. But in our opinion, it shouldn't be at a club competing for trophies. Thrust into the first team after injuries to Saliba and Tomiyasu in that fateful game against Sporting CP, his run of 6 consecutive starts between the 19th of March and 26th of April had a massive impact on Arsenal's title challenge. Arteta's side failed to keep a clean sheet in any of those games. In fact, they only managed to in 7 of his 24 games this season in all competitions and dropped 9 points, as many as they had in the previous 16 league games. Whilst Holding's ability in the air would make him an asset to a mid-table side, his lack of pace and vulnerability in possession was consistently exposed, not least as Arsenal conceded 5 goals in games against West Ham and Southampton. By the end of the season, Arteta was playing 2 left-footed centre-backs or Kivior out of position at left-back, just to avoid having Holding on the pitch at all. With Arsenal linked to defenders including Cancelo and Gehi, it's clear Arteta is looking to improve their defensive depth this summer, which could spell the end for Holding. 3. Jordan Henderson. Time comes for us all, and after 12 years of service at the top level with Liverpool, battling back from a rocky start to become one of the club's most successful ever captains, Jordan Henderson can hold his head high. The chances of Klopp offloading the midfielder, who ranks 15th on the club's all-time appearance list, are very slim though. Having already sanctioned the departures of Milner, Keita and Ox, he'll need the minutes Henderson can offer him, but in terms of being one of the first names on the team sheet, those days should be gone. While still an excellent progressive passer, completing 8.2 per 90, the most in the red squad, he's now something of a passenger defensively, ranking the bottom 16% of midfielders for tackles per 90. While Liverpool still attempted to press last season, with no one bettering their 8.8 passes per defensive action, they weren't actually particularly effective, winning the ball in 43% of their challenges, 18th in the division, above only Bournemouth and Brentford. With Alexis Mac Allister looking a formality, Jones's revival and Thiago's enduring quality, we can't see Henderson playing as many minutes in 23-24. 2. Anthony Martial. People may have appreciated Wout Weghorst's commitment and love for the club, but after just 2 goals in 31 games, neither of which came in the Premier League, he won't be returning to Old Trafford next season. Anthony Martial's situation is a little more complex. At 27 years old and having already spent an unsuccessful period out on loan in 21-22, there's a good chance that United would rather sell him than send him out on loan on another temporary spell. Given he missed another 27 games with various injuries this campaign, meaning he hasn't started 20 league games in a season since 2015-16, he's unlikely to fetch a huge fee, but Ten Hag desperately needs someone he can rely on going forwards. Given United being heavily linked to Atalanta sensation Rasmus Højlund in the last week and unknown admirers of Harry Kane, it feels almost inevitable that they'll sign at least one striker this window. Whilst incredibly raw, having only become a regular in Bergamo in January, 20-year-old Højlund operated at 0.46 XG per 90 last term, whilst playing 600 more league minutes than Martial's last 2 seasons combined. Højlund alongside a more experienced backup would be a serious upgrade on Martial and Weghorst. 1. Kai Havertz. There is a school of thought amongst Chelsea fans that Kai Havertz can be Pochettino's Dele Alli at Stamford Bridge, that his unique blend of spatial awareness, close control and defensive work rate will make him the perfect second striker or number 10 under the Argentinian. But we have our doubts. Firstly, the 23-year-old German who cost the club an initial £62 million 3 years ago has never been particularly creative, with his expected assists per 90 only going above 0.13 once in the last 5 completed campaigns. Some might argue that given he's predominantly played as a lone striker, that's never really been his role, but his finishing doesn't suggest he's going to explode anytime soon either. Whilst he may get 44% of his efforts on target, just 2% lower than Erling Haaland and level with Harry Kane, he lacks the conviction of his rivals, averaging a league goal every 310 minutes across his time in West London. Having only scored more than one league goal against Burnley, Palace, Southampton and Fulham, whilst failing to find the net against Arsenal, Spurs, Man City or Man United, it seems like Havertz's lack of physical gifts has made him mincemeat for elite defenders. Given all this, it seems remarkable that Real Madrid are supposedly considering the German as a Karim Benzema replacement. If Chelsea can offload Kai Havertz to Real Madrid for anywhere close to £50 million, they should absolutely take that money and run. So guys, that was our rundown of 10 players that need upgrading this summer. What did you guys think of the list? And do you see any of these transfers actually coming true? Let me know in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to Football Daily, and I'll catch you later in the week.